Well, it's because I desperately needed assistance and help with what I was doing because I had no idea where to even begin with homeschooling. And luckily, I had a lot of friends
Mm-hmm.
who had already been doing homeschooling and also who were starting for the first time the same time as me. So we were all like, let's all figure it out together. And we were able to ask each other questions. We had a great community. So I had that, which was great. But like ultimately, it's up to you and me
Mm-hmm.
to educate our children.
And
And
that's
to,
what I learned too. Like it is a team effort. Like I'm supposed to disciple my children as you are supposed to disciple our children. And so
yeah,
like you doing homeschool is not, I should not take that, like shifting all that over to you just because you stay at home. Like I need to be engaged with you in that. And you,
yeah.
by my being engaging with you may not, like it's just supporting you in my words and my actions, even around the home.
Mhm.
And I don't do that. I'm saying that now, like I do that all the time. Like that's not true. Like I fall short all the time, and it like takes Alyssa to remind me again
I feel like
and
it's
again.
easy to just say, your sons are going to talk to me the way that you're talking to me, or you're talking to your sons and then they're going to, they're going to talk
Hmm.
to me that way too. That's the same thing I just said. But
The example.
the example, and it's very gentle, it's a very very gentle reminder. And I think that you do a really good job at like realizing in the moment. And I think that's a strength because a lot of people, including me, have a hard time
Yeah.
being called out in the moment of like, you need to be more gentle. And what you're doing is going to have an impact beyond this
Yeah.
moment. And you do a good job. Side note, you do a good job at that.
Thank you, team member,
You're welcome,
cast member.
team member.
So, so in saying that, again, just to preface all that we just said, we're not professionals. We don't know what we're doing. We're just figuring it out.
I
And
haven't even gotten started in like what I'm actually doing for homeschool and if I actually think it's worth it.
yeah,
I'm doing my basic storyline plot line here is that I saw people doing homeschool and doing it well, and I saw the character in their kids, and I saw the freedom of the schedule where I was like, wow, like I think having a baby and being a first time mom and basically counting down 5 summers or 5 Christmases or whatever, and then my child was just going to be like, I felt like out of my hands for most of their day, most days, most of the day.
Mhm.
And it's like I get to shuffle you out to school really quickly in the morning and then see you for like a little homework, a little dinner, and then you're gone again. And like it seemed I was like so desperately like sad about that. And to see all of these other kids who are older than my
yeah.
kids doing homeschool and their families are just like on vacations, like camping trips and whenever
Yeah.
they want because they can school on the
And
road. I was like, that sounds amazing. Like more family time.
absolutely. And I think we're, again, like Alyssa said, we're not dogging public school because we do see the value in public school. Not
We
everyone
both came from
we
public
both came
school.
from, and the thing is that if I think homeschool is a blessing if you're able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not able to do it, there shouldn't be shame. There shouldn't be a guilt trip. There shouldn't be like, I can't believe you're sending your kid. I think needs to be a
No.
healthy respect between the two. And I think, public school gave homeschool a hard time back in the past, but now I feel like homeschool will give public kids now a hard time. Like the
Mm,
public school are the wicked and evil and liberal kids. But like, that's not true. And the public school offers amazing programs for people that need them. And
amazing.
people need to work, and we're in a situation where you're able to stay at home and you want to stay at home. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to go to work we had an agreement in our marriage that like Alyssa has the freedom to do what she wants, and I as a father and husband need to provide for that. Like that's the
It
agreement
sounds weird. I'm
but
not like this like diva demanding all these things
no,
from you,
but
but
like
it's true that we had the conversation where we said, "Hey, like I think we both agreed that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and that would be what's best for our kids when they're very little." And but providing that we could make it work financially, and there's been a lot of work in that and a lot of sacrifices that have been made in order for us to continue to sustain a one income family. It's not a thing that like, wow, we're just so blessed. Like, wow, like we just are making so much money. It's not that. It's that we are very intentional and worked very hard to be able to sustain that. And I some people are not able to make that work. And like, I mean, my parents weren't. And like that's so hard. I was telling someone the other day, I was in school all day plus after school programs. And I also would like go into work with my mom, like before work, before school. I would like sit under her desk at work, and then she would drop me off at school. And then after the after school program ended, she would pick me up, and sometimes we'd have to go back to her job. And that was her working so hard to provide for us, and I will always be thankful for how hard she worked, and my dad too, like the same thing, like just how hard they worked to provide for us. There is no shame in that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I
No
do
shame.
think there is a difference, and there are some traps to be wary of in public school, but same thing with homeschool. Like I think you do have to have a healthy balance, but we'll find out if it's worth it. And if you guys think it's worth it, share in the chat.
Well,
Share.
I have also more things of like that I've discovered, and I think that first of all, homeschooling is really, really hard. It's super hard because it's just taking on so much that like teachers go to college for 4 years, plus a lot of them get a master's. They all have a teaching credential. Like there's so much that goes into learning how to educate a child. And I understand that that's something that I have never studied. And I just give such like amazing props and kudos to all teachers, and like a couple of my best friends who are teachers who I'm like, that's amazing. And they've taught me so much about how to best like school and educate my kids. I think that that's amazing. And I know that I will never have that skill set fully in the same way that teachers do. I think they're great. And I also am open to seeing what I'm capable of. And I want to learn, and I want to be available for that. Knowing I'm not the best, but just seeing what's out there. And there's a lot out there. I asked a friend, this is the last thing, I'm going to wrap it up. I asked a friend, hey, am I supposed to feel like I'm drowning in the first year of homeschooling? And she says, yep, that's the first year. Like, that's what it feels like. And you slowly get your bearings, and you do your best. You have to just decide what your priorities are. You know what I mean? What do you think?
You know, experiencing like my initial reaction when she was going through this, when we talked about like my opinion and stuff, I was like, just put him in public school. Why is drowning even worth it? But then seeing the impact that the time I get to spend with them, that she gets to spend with them, the reality is we really only have like 12 years with our kids. You say 18, but by age 12 and up, like they're hanging out with their friends. They don't want to hang out with you anymore. So spending that time with them has been so valuable. And having that freedom, because I'm spontaneous, as we explored here, is you can't take that time back. And so if I can have more time with my children, bring it on. Like, yeah. And I see the value of that. So that's my thought in it. And like, yes, you're drowning, but like that's parenthood. Parenthood is like you're throwing out lifelines to people and community and surrounding each other. We talked about that last stream, and it's so important with our children. So I'm super grateful that we're able to do it in this season. It could change year by year.
Right.
And ultimately, I come to the conclusion in high school, when they have the opportunity to go in high school, they built a foundation at home. They can choose whether or not they want to go to go to homeschool. Like we need to allow them to have that freedom to have choice now versus, hey, you're not, I'm going to keep you prisoner, and I think that will force them away.
Yeah. And to like clarify as well what you're saying, like my goal with homeschool is that we would build such a great foundation for them in these early years that by the time they are 12, 13, 14, 17, that they want to be at home and they want to spend time at home. And that's not always the case. Teenagers are just teenagers. Like we know that. We work with teenagers. But just to be able to say like, man, I really like my parents. And because we have a great relationship. We know how to communicate. We go through the hard struggles. We talk through the hard things together. And not, oh, I learned everything I know about this topic from kids on the playground, kids at school. And that's who I feel safe talking to. And I don't know how to have a conversation that's hard with a parent. Like we just want to be as available for that as we can. And I mean, everything could change. I could pick a curriculum one year, throw it out the next year. do this, do that. The biggest eye opener about homeschooling for me was the fact that you don't have to pay for it. And I think that that's a big misunderstanding.
In California, you get a
Yes.
lot of money.
I didn't know that before I had homeschooled. I was like, oh my gosh, like whoever's homeschooling, like must be nice. You must be loaded, like, or you must have all this extra money or whatever. No, like we signed up through a public charter, and they say, great, you want to homeschool? Here's some money. Go buy your curriculum, buy your school supplies, buy what you need, educate your child, because it's the same as paying taxpayer dollars to put them into a public school. And I was like, wow, it's just cool. It's a cool thing. And I think ultimately for us in the season that we're in and the kids that we have, their personalities and who we are as a family, homeschooling is worth it for us.
Even though it drives us up the walls, there's lots of whining, there's lots of fighting, there's moments of me losing patience. That's family. You know, like you get used to it. The screaming slowly numbs. Your ears slowly would get numb to the screams.
Slowly become deafened.
Deafened.
You know what? What I love that you said to me a couple weeks ago was that how, especially with our sons, that like there will come a time where you take over their education as the man discipling our sons. Like that there will come a time where like right now I'm nurturing them and growing them as their mother. And then there will come a time where you will be their main instructor into manhood.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that day.
Yes.
And they're going to weep about that day. They're going to say, I love you, Mom. I don't want to leave you. And it's like ripping them from their mother and saying,
you will not.
We're going to the wilderness.
You're not ripping
to survive.
Dude,
like the Spartans of our day.
I'll probably go with you because you guys would freeze and starve without me.
That's part of the process. Part of the process. Well, I'm so thankful for Alyssa and this journey that we're on. And we'll see what comes, the fruit that comes from it. You know, I think a lot of parenting is trial and error, and you won't see the fruit for the next 25 years. Just kidding.
25?
No, hopefully they're out of our house by then. But no, I think that's true. Like we have glimpses of things that we said and done with our children when they were younger. And so we're the biggest thing that homeschooling is teaching us that we need to have good habits. We need to have good teaching and not having procrastination, because it's easy for us. Again, we're going in circles.
Well, parenthood is a mirror in of itself.
Yes.
But homeschooling is like a hyper-focused, extra lenses.
Yeah,
mirror.
because it's like, oh, we can just go on vacation or we can do that. And you and I've always been like, hey, we're going to stick to it. And it's important. We're going to make it happen no matter what. We're not going to skip school. But having the freedom to leave on a Thursday or Wednesday to go see family or do this, it's great. But then we put off homework and we put off this. And so it's creating like procrastination. Like, oh, I don't need to do it now. And it's like, well, there's something about a system that I really love, and it's more flowing in our home. But that's how we live. We're flowing in and out of here, and the way we talk and the way we do things, and it's never structured. So I wonder how that's going to happen. So please, if you have any tips on how to be structured.
I disagree.
Really? I
work really hard to keep it really in line and really structured, and you're not there, so you don't know.
That must be true. I'm in and out. So
I'm just saying, like it's true. We are definitely a lot more free flowing, but that's literally the nature of homeschool, and that's why people do it. Oh. But before we went on our anniversary trip for a week. We were gone for 8 days, 10 days from the kids. And I did double portions of 2 of the subjects the week before, and I did double portions of the other subjects after we got back. So there was no school missed when we were gone.
Wow. Incredible. And that's my wife, everyone.
I guess you didn't know that.
I did. That's my wife. Incredible.
Thanks.
That's an incredible afterthought. So hopefully, as you see how we're figuring things out, you cannot feel so bad about yourself.
Hopefully you watch this and you're like, I have it so much more together than they do. Thank God. I'm not doing as bad as I thought. I'm watching them and I feel so much better. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us for After Hours. Oh,
Afterthought.
I like After Hours.
After Hours is already a thing.
Parent After Hours.
No, After Hours is already a thing.
This is our parenthood After Hours. After Hours parenthood.
I like Afterthought.
Afterthought of After Hours.
Because this is an afterthought. this whole podcast is
This
an afterthought.
literally was an afterthought. I literally started this podcast because this live stream because I was like, let's just do it tonight.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
And we have no idea what we're talking about, so take it with a grain of salt.
Or some coffee beans.
Just our journey.
Take it straight.
It's just our journey.
So, how do we close out? If you have any tips.
What, like a jingle?
A jingle.
Should we do a jig?
A jig.
End.